Welcome to Booked All Night Season 2. Each week, Jess, Katie, and Maggie launch into new worlds, discover amazing characters, and bring you the best bookish discussions under the stars. We're a cozy little corner of the internet, so be sure to leave a comment and join the polls after each episode. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a chapter. All right, my little Libranauts, grab a seat, grab a book, and join us as we explore some new pages.
Jesse, you want to read the trigger warning, or should I?
I'll read it, it's fine.
Okay.
And then I'll do I'm not joining this discussion because it's time for my vacation.
It's a shame. I really thought you'd like this book.
You know, I feel like it's something I would like. I think it's just that I'm, like, a little burnt out. Because, like, I'm even having trouble reading books that I've requested and was already, like, halfway through. So I think it's just that the brain needs to re-solidify and do all that. Because, you know me, I love unhinged characters. Like,
yeah, I'm reading through this and I'm like, Jessie would love this scene. Oh, she would love this scene. Oh, she would make 300 different types of wet and has a pulse joke about this scene.
Yeah,
and...
like, I should, by all means, absolutely love it. But I'm just...
Now go back when you're not burned out.
All right. So for producer Rob, please be aware that this book contains scenes of violence and abuse, suicide ideation, discussion, and references to sexual assault, though no on-page depictions, alcohol addiction, and torture. This book is not historical fantasy or alternate history, but a futuristic story set in an entirely different world, inspired by cultural elements from across Chinese history, and featuring historical figures reimagined in vastly different life circumstances. Considerable creative liberties were taken during the reimagining of these historical figures, such as changing their family upbringing or relative age to each other, because accuracy to a particular era was not the goal. To get an authentic view of history, please consult non-fiction sources. And this is Jessica signing off, because this one is just for Maggie and Katie, because I deserve a vacation as well. Ha 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 ha.
Okay, so this part was a lot. Like was mentioned in the trigger warning, there is a lot of reference to alcohol addiction, withdrawal, and also physical and sexual assault. So it's a pretty heavy 200 pages-ish that we just read. But damn, did it start and end with a bang. Like, whew.
Yeah. And I think not just so much heavy content, but also everything happened so quickly. Mm-hmm. Like, everything was just like boom, 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 boom. Like, none of the characters got a single break at all. And neither did we as a reader, because just once it started happening, it did not stop.
Yeah, that's what I really love about this book is the pacing, because it does, chase your main characters with wolves and pointy sticks, then up a tree and you lob rocks at them and then set the tree on fire. And then, oh no, the mountainside is crumbling. And also somehow she has to figure out how to kill her partner. It's been a joyride. I don't know if joyride is not necessarily, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. These like 18 chapters that we read.
Yes.
So we start with just coming off of the end of chapter 10, where she has been thrown in a jail cell after killing Yang Guang and being like, welcome to your nightmare. And she gets told that she is going to be paired up with Leigh, who is a murderous man who has killed his entire family in cold blood and is the strongest chrysalis pilot since the late emperor from several hundred years ago. So we get to see her go into the subconscious realm when she gets connected to the vermilion bird, which is sort of how we saw Yang Guang when they first got connected. He had like a forest, like trying to slow her down, trap her, but Leigh subconscious realm is all fire, all pain, all whirling blades, and it is a struggle for her to get out of this, because before where she was just like, oh yes, this is so easy, murder this small child and I will murder Yang Guang, this is perfect. But then, she's fighting with a elemental chi that is directly opposed to her own metal type chi, because Leigh Shimin is fire.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also a lot stronger than Yang Guang. So she's finally coming up like on a struggle.
Yeah.
Instead of this, it's been so effortless to murder this guy.
And I think we also need to mention that Leigh Shimin is also Rongdi. Rongdi? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But that's a different culture than hers. Mm-hmm. It's basically like, I don't want to say like a wild man, but you know, it's definitely they're considered more uncivilized.
I think its real Earth equivalent is supposed to be like the Chinese versus Mongolian. Like Rongdi, I think, is supposed to be somewhat Mongolian, right? Just by their like the descriptors that Jiran uses. Zhexian is Han, and there is this sort of racial like clash between the two of them because the Han is the majority, and they view Rongdi as quote unquote mongrels and as lesser. While, you know, the standards of Han beauty is what they promote, really.
Like, I think it's mentioned later, but like the Rongdi women don't have their feet bound.
Yes.
And that is not considered civilized or beautiful in the Han culture, right?
Yes.
But what we also have to realize about Leigh Shimin or bring up is that not only is his spirit world just crazy, but he's also like a prisoner. When they bring him out, he's got a manacle on him.
He's muzzled and manacled and at gunpoint.
Muzzled, yeah.
Yes.
Muzzled, orange jumpsuit, chains that lead him, you know, by soldiers. Like, he is a prisoner.
Yeah. He's literally being led like a wild animal.
Yes, and he's rumored to have murdered his whole family. And that is when Zhexian is like, hey, did they deserve it, right? So you've got this big, massive, hulking, wild murderer man who cannot be, you know, set free at all to pilot his own chrysalis. And that's what she's up against.
Yes. She has like this moment of, hey, wait, let me take over. Let me try. Like, she's trying to plead with him, you know, for the both of them to survive. But he just kind of like steamrolls straight past her. And she is furious when she gets through. Like, she comes into the yin yang realm after she kind of beats through all this fire and pain world, once she kind of gets connected to the chrysalis. And they are immediately at each other's throat. Like, they are just not vibing, but they're not able to like outmaneuver each other. They are trying so hard to fight each other off, and they're losing control of the chrysalis. They're, you know, other pilots are saying like, oh, Vermilion Bird, you're out of control. Get yourself together. And they're trying, but they're still being like unable to hold form, because even at that point, they reach a transformation into their like ascended form, except it's all wrong. It's not like sleek and beautiful and strong. It is like described as bulbous and terrifying. And it's just, they have like, it's just like, they're bubbling and they're about to overflow. And it's not until the point until they both, basically they explode. They like pass out. They're unable to control anything. And the next thing Zhexian knows is she's waking up in front of like all of the other strategists. And they're basically like, well, you're too wild to do anything. We can't trust you. But congratulations, you're almost a balanced match, except you have this villainous form of the Vermilion Bird instead of the heroic form. And that's also when we kind of find out that Leigh Shimin is basically paid with alcohol to fight, besides just being forced at gunpoint and via chain and muzzle into the chrysalis. He's basically kept drunk the entire time because he immediately demands alcohol when he gets out of the fight. And he is also like The thing that really stood out to me in this part was the moment where they finish the fight, and just before they're carted off to the strategists, he learns that she survives, because he's so used to all of the concubines dying immediately, and he I think the phrasing was like, oh, he stops because he's not sure what he heard. He doesn't want to believe it's true. And she just goes, hey, so I guess we survived that, basically. And he turns around, and he's described as having this sort of shocked tenderness on his face when he looks at her. Like, there's this big, bulky, horribly, violent man. And all of a sudden he's like this trembling and like worried man who is now faced with a pilot who doesn't, succumb to him in the pilot seat.
And I think, afterwards, what I found really interesting was that when she's kind of forced to live with him, right? Because now they're a balanced match. So now technically, I wouldn't say that they're married, but they're like engaged sort of thing.
Yeah, they have to present as married, right?
Yes. And so they're forced to live together. And they're in the basement, and they're in like basically a nicer form of a prison cell, right? Everything's bare, it's concrete walls, there's really no furniture. And she goes in to use the bathroom to use the bathroom and clean her feet. And there's all these herbs and stuff.
Like feminine supplies, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so she's like, wait a second, there's a girl. There was another girl. And so, then we learn this tragic backstory, right, of why he killed his family, which included a girl.
Yes. Oh man, I do want to mention before we get into that whole kerfuffle, is the scene where they're at the strategists after the battle. And it's confirmed that they both hit like 18,000 spirit pressure, where the average is 84, and it's wild. And Zeshan is basically like, so what are you going to give me? Like, you should give me at least some of the privileges that any balanced match pair would get. And they're basically like, oh, you don't have any bargaining power here. You're not, you're irrelevant, little girl. And then she goes over to a soldier and presses his gun barrel to her forehead and is like, do it. I bet you won't. Do it. Oh, no, you need me. And she basically just
calls their bluff.
And calls their bluff. And they're like, fine, we need you, but you're unhinged. Like, literally, she gets called a crazy bitch by one of the strategists. Mostly because she is, like, super blasé about Yang Guang's death. And they're like, oh, there's a funeral, and, they're mourning. And she's like, he deserved it. And, gosh. But yes, they're living together. They have to basically present as a married partnership. For the media. And that entire first night, she is terrified of him because he's drunk. He's got dozens of flasks in his bedside table. The entire room smells like a distillery. And her only previous experience with alcohol is her alcoholic, abusive father. And so this entire time they're getting into these arguments. She's trying to trying to rile him up and trying to have a conversation. And he's sort of talking about, oh, there was this girl, and his entire backstory, about how there was a girl he liked when he was a kid, and his brothers blackmailed her and then sexually assaulted her while he walked in on them. He couldn't go to get a town guard because he's half Rongdi. His brothers they have different mothers. His brother's mother is Han. So he looks more trustworthy, is the exact quote. And he couldn't go get a guard because they would just pin it on him. So he took matters into his own hand and killed his whole family. First his brothers and his dad came home, and he was like, well, I was going to try and, leave, but then you came home. So now I can't leave without killing you first. And so that kind of, assuages her from her fear of him touching her, because she's well aware of what her role is here. She's, the concubine. She has to sate his need. And this is the first time that she has sort of an honest conversation about sex and how it pertains to them, because she's like, oh, I've always been told that men get this overpowering urge and they have to have their needs set or it's too painful for them. And he's like, no, they're urges, but they're not like, you keep your mind. Anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is kind of an asshole. But she's still like, she screams at him to get away. And like, they're, it's, you'd think that they're about to have a moment, but they just can't.
Right. And we also learned that he does not like killing the women pilots, right? He does not like it. It bothers him. And that's why he drinks so much, because he knows that every time you've mentioned this, I think a little, just a few moments ago, but like every time that he pilots pilots the Vermilion Bird, he sacrifices a woman, and he does not like that. He doesn't think it's right. And he can't live with himself doing that, but he's kind of forced to do that. Yeah. And so that's why he drinks.
And he kind of tries to ignore the female pilots. Like he had mentioned, like he doesn't look at them when they were brought across the bridge, and like that's sort of like his way of trying to smother those feelings. But after that,
they have to learn to become partners.
Yes, they have to learn to become partners.
They're doing ice skating and shit.
They're doing ice skating and shit. Team trust exercises, trust falls, and all that kind of nonsense.
I was just gonna say, I think they should have started off with a trust fall before ice skating.
Sort of is also hinted at again is the previous partner, and she's like, wait, concubine pilots aren't referred to as partners, because one of the strategists that's trying to teach them to be better people together is like, oh yeah, your partner and whatnot. And she's like, wait, who? And they're like, oh, she died. And he's having like this visceral reaction. I also want to point out that at this point, he's also wearing basically Coke bottle glasses for the first time that she sees.
Yes.
Like they're in the shuttle to get to the ice rink, and they're having this conversation about the dead partner. And he's got these giant, thick glasses on, and she's like, it makes him look like a nerdy little boy. It's just the funniest thing. And she was like, oh, so he's not actually angry all the time. He's just squinting because he can't see. And he has to be like, yeah, I'm not trusted with glasses anymore. And they're like, what do you mean you're not trusted with glasses? It's like, you break one glass and shiv a guard one time, and you can't have... and you can't have nice things anymore. But they basically get paraded in front of like the barracks and like the food hall. And they're like, oh, they have to present as a team, and everyone is like death glaring them because she killed Young Guan and he's, a murderer. No one likes him. He doesn't even get like the proper titles. He doesn't get any kind of respect. He's just Pilot Leigh, not, Iron Prince Leigh or Prince General, whatever their titles are.
That's because a girl killed him. Oh no, not a girl.
They get into this basically like this food hall. They see this scoreboard with all of the pilots ranked in spirit, pressure, power, right? And of course, Leigh Shimon's at the top, but they don't show his name. So the first place is just blank, and then there's the next power couple, and then the next, and then the next. And it's supposed to be like this, oh, remember, no one can have the first place prize because he's here and he's a murderer and he doesn't get these things. So he's keeping extra money and goodies for your family away from you. And while they're there, Leigh Shimon gets into a fight with one of the other pilots because he insults Zeishan. He basically tries to innuendo his way into her pants. And he does not take lightly to that. So he gets into this massive brawl where the entire time Zeishan is just sitting there eating her green beans. Meanwhile, he's punching and slamming people into tables and breaking, bowls over people's heads. And it's this wild, violent fight. And she's just there like, gonna eat my green beans. But he gets tranked and taken away, and she ends up having to go back to the cell alone after that. And it turns out it was a setup, because what's his hoot comes down. One of the other pilots is like, this is revenge for Young Guang, and basically tries to strangle her.
I forget his name, but it's like Xingtian,
I think. I can't.
Xianting.
Xingtian.
Crossing ting.
That's so awful. No.
How was it spelled?
Crossing.
Xingtian. I think it's Shongtian.
Xin.
Xing. Like a ZJ kind of sound. Xing Tian.
I thought it was a SH.
Not always.
I'm sticking with crossing.
Crossing guard Tian. Yeah, all right.
Crossing time.
So he comes into the cell. He's basically somehow managed to bribe the guards to step away. And he breaks in and like starts suffocating her and assaulting her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to fight him off. But he's like, you know, she's exhausted. She can't, you know, move that well. And he's basically just jumped her from the get-go. And before it can escalate too far, here comes an old friend, a surprise. It's Yi, who has apparently come to... Okay, Jesse's giving me the finger.
Easy
comes, because he's apparently come to help as a strategist. And he comes, rescues her, basically. He's like, oh, get off of her, and punches him. They have like this nice little moment where she's being comforted by him because she's so overwhelmed, and he's like the first friendly face that she has seen in 2 weeks. And he comforts her, and he's like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to basically be your Cinna, to your Katniss and Peeta. And hopefully that ends up better for him than it did for Cinna.
It was at this point where I started to not trust him. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I know, so later when we get to a scene later, it's like, do I trust him? Do I not trust him? I want to trust him, but I don't trust him. But for some reason, him just showing up and being like, hey, I'm rich, so I paid my way to be here so I could save you and be, you know, your hero. It just doesn't sit right with me. There's like, for me, there's a hidden agenda.
Yeah. It does kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth. Like, this entire time, their friendship has always been really dangerous, right? Because he's a rich city boy, she's a peasant country girl, and the two of them together meeting in private is already scandalous enough, quote unquote, because, you know, her virtue. She's going to get shoved into a pig cage and drowned because they think that, you know, they boned under a waterfall. And
while he shaved her brows,
right. Just gonna real quick shape your brows and also hump you a little bit.
Shave your brows and stick it in.
But and like he's had questionable actions in the past, like the coming in to try and, you know, propose to her right before she gets taken away to completely derail her plan on revenge is incredibly self-focused. I mean, yeah, sure, he's trying to prevent her from murdering and then getting executed because he loves her. But basically, Yi is there and he's like, I'm going to befriend Shimin and I am going to become, you know, your personal strategist. I'm going to help you guys out. I'm going to make you guys a better couple, a better balanced match. And Shimin's like, all right, I see the way you look at him. What is going on? And she tells him, like, yeah, that's the city boy who taught me to read. And he's like, oh, do you love him? And she has to like come to terms with her, you know, put words to her emotions at that point.
Can we talk about, is it Yeezy?
Easy. Like, kind of like Yeezy, but with a at the end. Easy.
I just have to say, I need to talk about Yeezy just coming in and saying, this is Leigh Shimin, like your partner's Leigh Shimin. Oh my God, I loved him. Have you seen his writing? His writing's so beautiful. And oh my God, he's so beautiful. And holy crap. And she's like, yeah, you clearly worship this guy. And I'm just like, hey, is this the throuple we should have had in that other book that we didn't get? Like, is this where this is going?
Triangles are the strongest shape, by the way, as is mentioned in this part. But he basically did like a deep dive on Shimon's history, and he finds out that
this fatal kiss.
Yes, it was supposed to be this fatal kiss.
This fatal throuple.
He he does all this research on him and is like, oh, did you know he went to middle school when most people from his cast don't go to school at all? And like, he could write and he could read and he could do all this. And then his, he's only, his only stain is this murder. So, and they have this huge discussion about like, well, you knew him first as a murderer, and then you learn that he can write pretty words because he's good at calligraphy. And now you have a better opinion of him. But what about the people who knew him first as this kid with the pretty words who turned out to be a murderer? And like, they talk about like this perspective on Shimin and like what he represents to each of them, right? As like this child gone bad or this murderer with a heart of gold. There is 100% some gay things happening.
Oh, absolutely. Leigh Shimin actually blushes at all of that.
Yes, he does. Big old boy just blushing at the pretty little man. Wreck that twink.
And the pretty little man blushing at him. Hey.
Right? But before we kind of get to that, there is a moment where Yiji moves into with them basically. So they get upgraded to a proper upgraded. Yiji buys his way into a proper suite, and they move into actual housing with an actual bed and like actual furniture and stuff.
But a huge padlock on the door so they can't escape.
Yes, basically a cell door. Yeah, and they can only get out by calling strategist Yi from 3 floors up to be like, hey, can you let us out, please? We're the dog sitting at the front door crying to go outside and potty. But Zeshan at that point goes to Easy's room and is like, let's get hot and horny for a second because I know you want me and I want you and we're gonna get down and dirty and do this. Until she sees his tattoos, which is like this big no-no. Right. And basically she finds out that, oh yeah, he got this tattoos because of his dad, who is a super shady media conglomerate owner.
And he only tattoos the children he wants in his circle.
Basically, yeah. Very mafia-esque going on over here. And like, she was thinking about how like, oh, how many times have I seen his sleeves pull in the crook of his elbows and not known that there were all of these tattoos hiding underneath. So there's like this extra layer of, ooh, what else is he hiding? Like what else lies, like what darkness lies beneath, I think is the phrase that she used. But before they can get any wetter with a pulsar, Shimin has a withdrawal episode. And he's basically just getting violently sick. And they're like, oh, this is so much worse than we thought. And he gets hospitalized. And at first they didn't want to hospitalize him because natural remedies are better for chi restoration. And you don't want to put like all of these synthetic medicines into your body to disrupt that kind of flow. And we learn at that point that Boy had his organs harvested while he was in jail. Because chi reproduction is done in the liver and the kidneys, and he's basically on like a half-life because they took a kidney and they took half his liver to give to healthy people and non-murderous people so that they could get a better chance at life, right? And then he's basically crippled spiritually because of that. Which I completely forgot about the organ harvesting part as well. There's just a lot of details to this story that slipped through my mind.
I also like how they bring up like two sides of the coin, right? So when you're dealing with alcoholism or someone who is an alcoholic, you have the people who like really, really care and help out, and they're just like, it's not just a mental illness, like it's an addiction, it's it's a lot, right? And you have Yiza, who is like cradling his head and being there for him and like rocking him, like, and giving him the herbs and all that stuff. And then you have Zeshan, who's getting angry at him, right? Why won't you just wake up? Why can't you just like power through it? Why are you so weak, sort of thing? And I feel that, that's that's it. Like, that's the whole life of an alcoholic, is having half the people in your life who just want to help you out, and half the people getting angry. And I think both sides are fair, you know?
Yeah.
But I just really like how they portrayed it.
Because she gets angry because, yes, it's she gets angry at him because she believes that he is okay with murdering the girls because he gets his liquor at the end, right? And so he's fighting through just for the liquor, and that upsets her a lot. But you know, she's like, no, it's a sickness. It's his you know, his brain's not working correctly. That's why he can't stop reaching for it, because while he's in the hospital, here comes another strategist just as the Hundans are attacking again. And they're like, oh, you need to go into battle right now, despite them being like on day 4 of their Chi 2-week mandated rest period. And they're like, no, you're going to kill them. And he's like, whoop, too bad. You want this? And he you know, shakes the cat treat box in front of Yi full of liquor, and he lunges for it, and that, you know, pisses it. Yeah, Li Shimin, yeah. He waves it in front of Li Shimin, and he lunges for it, and that pisses Zishan off, obviously, but the entire time, Yi is like trying to hold his hand and trying to calm him down and trying to, you know, be gentle with him. And they're just like, nope, you gotta go. And basically they avoid getting drafted in that particular moment. They're
running away.
Like, yeah, they're all running away, and they jump into the elevator and like kick away the hand that tries to stop the doors from closing all the way.
It's like a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah, right. And I think it was at that moment where, what's his name? The strategist Yi gave her like a little like come to Jesus conversation, or pep talk almost.
Hey, you need to sleep with him. That's how you're going to get your balance aligned.
Oh, that comes later. That comes later. That's like the next chapter. But basically, he's just like, yeah, if the local strategists think tributing you, basically setting you up for failure and forcefully sacrificing you so that the Hundans are like, we have managed to kill one of them. We can go home now and rest. Because that's what they were basically trying to do. And Zishan's like, I can't do this alone anymore. I need female friends. Let me go talk to the other pilots. And the other Iron Princesses are just so shady. First of all, the first one, the White Tiger female pilot, Quelong,
oh my gosh,
is a raging bitch. She's just like stone-faced and like obviously distancing herself from all the other women. And when Zishan goes up to be like, hey, I want to be friends, she's like, you go the heck away, you man-killing whore, and slaps her.
Not even that. She's like, stay away from my man, and slams her head into a wall. And you find out that the male pilot in the White Tiger, when she went into his spirit realm, right after Zetian had shown up, she was in there. She was in his thoughts.
Like she could see memories of her.
Yeah, and this other woman was just like, why is she in your spirit realm? Because I think this is the girl who said, you can't have any concubines. It's me.
Yes.
And nothing else. And so when she sees another woman in his head, she's like, this man-stealing whore. And I got so mad because I'm like, it's not her. It's not like she went up to him and was just like, hey, sexy man, let's get it on. You know, it was him thinking about her. They never met. They never met. And this man is thinking about her. Once. And the wife was getting upset. And it's just like,
why are you thinking of other hoes, bro? Yeah, right?
You're looking at the wrong person.
And that's when the other Iron Princess, there are 3 total balanced matches. And that's Li Shimin and Wu Zeishan, the White Tiger and the Black Tortoise, right? So the White Tiger is the jealous woman-hating pilot. The other one is, I forget her name. I know her surname is Ma something. They call her Big-Footed Ma because she is a Han who has unbound feet. And she is the other balanced match, right? And it is worth mentioning at this point that the white tiger female pirate is Rongdi. I think she is fully Rongdi. So she does not have bound feet. She is it's a darker complexion, I believe. And Big-footed Ma basically refers to her as, oh, she's just a firecracker of a Rongdi. You know how they are. And there's like this very like mild, consistent racist tone throughout the conversation with Big-footed Ma, where she is basically talking down the Rongdi and is like, oh, well, you know, do you need some powder to cover up your bruise? And Zeishan's like, no, this is from something else. This is not from Li Shimin. I got punched by Kui Long. And Zeishan's like questioning her, like, why do you have powder? Why would you hide your face? Why wouldn't you, not want to put these men on blast for abusing you? But Big-footed Ma's just like, oh, we know how Rongdi men are. Of course they're going to be, rough and violent, and he's going to hit you.
Yeah, she's like, I carry powder around for women like you.
And like they kind of befriend each other, but also like,
she's shady. She is.
Yeah, they're both kind of shady, and it's like they're two different levels of being inundated by the propaganda machine, right? Because Zeishan at that point kind of has like another moment where she realizes like the women are set up to fail because they're told from day one, like of their birth, like, you are subservient, you are lesser, you are not as strong, you have to listen to your master, the man. And she's like, yeah, it wasn't, she kind of realizes that, oh yeah, it was my grandmother who broke my feet. It was my mother who told me all of these terrible things. Where she kind of has this distrust of women as well as distrust of men, especially in positions of power. And she has this moment where she's just like, she feels hopeless and helpless and angry, and it just gets exacerbated by all this. But she ends up having this idea of basically going to Yiji's dad.
Before we get into this, I just want to kind of going off of saying how, oh, these women are shady, whatever. But when you think about it, this economy that they're in, this culture that they're in, everything that's being done to everyone, right? You kind of have to look out for yourself. And that's what Zeishan is doing for herself. That's what Li Shimin is kind of doing for himself, whether it's with alcohol or not. But like, they're being forced to fight these Hunduns. These pilots aren't making it past the age of 25. These women are being sacrificed. The media is in control of everything. So and that's why I think it's easy to say everyone is shady, and I don't trust anyone in this book, because ultimately they have to look out for themselves. Otherwise, they're going to wind up 6 feet under.
That's kind of how the female pilots of the balanced matches are doing it. They're just doing it to two different extremes. Like Kui Long is doing it by separating herself from other women and concubines and, trying to make herself indispensable. And Big-footed Ma is, there are other concubines that the male pilot of the Tortoise has, and she has kids of her own. So she manages, there are 18 months of time minimum that she was saved from being in the pilot seat and running the risk of death because she was pregnant, because she's got kids, she's got his heirs, and they can't kill her for that. And she swaps places with the other concubines who also run that risk, but also have the shield of a child.
I think Zeishan brings that up, right? Like, I don't understand why she has 2 kids. Her and the dad are going to die early anyway, like from one thing or another. And then they're going to take the kids and make them pilots, and they're going to die, so what's the point of having kids? And again, that just points out that these people have to be selfish. They have to put themselves first. They have to survive, because no one's helping them do it.
They're forced into those roles and those tough decisions because of the way that their society is run, but also the circumstances of the world with the Hunduns and how their military government, you know, uses them this way. And that's kind of where she gets this idea, because Zishan remembers that, like, oh, the media is like the one thing that can swing you, you know, in your favor and can support you, because she's thinking about a former pilot, Sun Wukong of I think it was the Golden Monkey.
Yes, because that's the Monkey King.
That's the Monkey King, yes. Where he managed to be one of the only pilots to retire and not be killed or sacrificed, because he wrote this book, and he, you know, got very popular, and the media pushed for him, and like he went on book tour and all such stuff. And because of the media's influence on him, making him this important like cultural figure outside of the Chrysalis fight, he managed to live past 25, and he retired, and he managed to like have a life and travel and survive. And so that's where she gets this idea where, oh, I got to go to Gaoshi, who is Yiji's father, who is the sketchy conglomerate or media conglomerate guy. He's basically part of the media and is super sketch. Where she's like, I got to become a TikTok influencer, so I am so rich they can't kill me. Kind of idea. And I'm making it a little poppy and funny, but you know, she's like, okay, if I become literally indispensable by being a cash cow, they can't kill me or sacrifice me, regardless of whatever strategy they think they're doing by sacrificing me. But he won't sign a contract with her because she's a liability. And he's like, prove to me that you are a balanced match, that you can survive a fight with Leigh Shimin, and then we'll talk. And she's like, now I gotta go and make nice with this guy that I hate, that I still kind of want to murder on, you know, on the down low every other day.
That's how I feel every day.
Yeah, right.
Just want to kill someone every day.
They're doing all these trust exercises and still failing at it. And you know, Shimon's still weak because he's still in withdrawal and he's still recovering. And it's not a ideal time for them, right? They're both in these sort of states of spiraling downwards. And at one point she's like, okay, well, I gotta, because she had talked to Bigfooted Ma, and at one point, you know, they had like this conversation of, oh, how do you manage being a balanced pair? What is it like piloting them in true sync? And it's like, oh, you gotta cover for his weaknesses. You gotta know when to step back and let him take control. And it's like a take and a give, right? A give and a take.
Yeah.
And she struggles with that a lot, because she's like, well, if I give him some, you know, some power of mine, he's going to overtake me. And she's scared of that. She's like, well, I got to kind of come to terms with this. I got to learn to be a better partner, because otherwise we're dead. And that's the moment where strategist Yi's like, what do you mean you're a virgin? You got to sleep with him. It is the ultimate partner bonding activity. Which is the exact wording he used. Because he's like, oh, you gotta get down on your concubine duties and make sure his needs are met. And they're like, we've never done that. And they're like super awkward about it. And as Zeishan's like, maybe I should let him take me to bed and see if that'll work. That's when everything changed, when the Hunduns attacked again for the third time. And this time they are surrounded by soldiers. All the strategists come out of the woodwork. They're like, here is the head honcho, the chairman of all of the strategists in this region, basically signing on the dotted line that, yes, you have to go into battle right now, even though you're still in recovery.
Yep.
They have been allowed to use their pilot gear outside of the Chrysalis. They basically get wings and have learned how to fly. Zeishan's like, oh, if I have wings, I can just get up here and fly out of here and I can escape. But before she even can like finish making the move to turn around, she is shot for realsies this time.
50 Cent shot.
They just pew, pew right there. Shot in the somewhere. I don't know. I don't remember exactly where.
Her back. I think it was the wing. Because her wing was dragging.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. That's right. And he's carrying her through the barracks and up to the birds hangar, and she's just like, slowly dying in his arms as they're going to the chrysalis and they're forced to fight. And like they have 2 guards that go into the cockpit with them and like keeps their guns trained on them.
Who knew those chairs were in there?
Right? Like clearly they had to like super fast bolt them into the cockpit the night before because they knew there was going to be some kind of fight and they have to get rid of them. Basically, Schumann's just like, hang on, when we get into the pilot seats, you'll stop feeling all this pain, so you'll be okay. You can just hang on for a little bit because you don't feel your bodily pain when you're in the spirit realm, right? And they're trying to fight, and she's trying to consciously be at peace with like the ebb and the flow of their control, right? She's consciously trying to give up some of her own control so that they can do this because she's like
before they get into the cockpit even, she kisses him. She kisses Leigh.
Right. That's right. I did forget about that. How could I forget about that?
See, they didn't have sex, but they could hook up though, right, Jess? And she literally whispers into his mouth like, you need to fight.
You gotta fight because he's giving up at this point because he has given up. She's shot. He knows that they're being basically set up for the slaughter. And he's like, well, this is inevitable. I'm just gonna give in. And she's like, no, you are not. You are going to fight. You're gonna hang on and we're gonna get through this and show them what's what. And so she kisses him.
She showed him what's what.
And but while they're in, they're still struggling with the vermilion bird, right? And they're clearly weakened. They haven't reset their chi at all. And they're like, we're at a disadvantage here because all of these Hunduns are coming in and we don't have melee fighting capabilities in the bird. They can only shoot pink beams from its mouth, right? At that point, they see the headless warrior, whose pilot is the one that jumped Zeshan in the room after the fight in the food hall.
And she knows that the strategists were told all the pilots, like, hey, do not fight the Hunduns. Let them come to the Vermilion Bird. Do not help them. Like, let them fight on their own. And she's like, this is it. Like, this is clearly what they want. And she's like, yes. And if the Hunduns don't take us out, he will. So I'm going to jump on him first. And not in the sexy way.
She's trying to attack, and as she goes to like raise the claws to strike at him, she hesitates. Because there's a concubine pilot in there. There's another girl in there. She doesn't want to kill him. And Schumann is like, wait, is he the one who attacked you? And he goes bananas. Completely just sees red, goes all savior fighting off the bad guys. And this is the first time they end up actually connecting on this spiritual level where they are perfectly matched. They are one, and they are piloting this bird together in like perfect sync. And they rip off his legs to suck up his chi so that they can transform. And it is brutal. And then Zishan's is like, if we're raging, let's go rage at the strategist who tried to kill us, and are basically leaving the battle to go smash the strategist's compound to bits.
And I think he stops her, right? Because he's just like, listen, if we fight, if we resist, if we do what you want to do, they're gonna kill us. There's nowhere to hide. There's no way we can survive this. So we either need to be on their side, do what they want, and survive this, or we're gonna die anyway. And that's what they want.
They basically end up talking each other. Yeah, they're basically talking each other off the cliff, right? And as they get to the compound, that's when Yi is like, stop, don't attack. And Zeishan's, oh, right, I forgot about him. He's also here. And if I crush the strategist, I'm gonna crush him. And so they stop. And they're still kind of like unable to, they're like half transformed. They're in this villainous form. They're not able to get into any kind of mode where they can be useful or helpful or survive in any kind of, meaningful way. And Yuji talks them both down and calms them down. He's like, you know what you need? You need just a little bit more chi, and I'm here to help. And he walks out onto the platform, does the whole How to Train Your Dragon hand onto the beak of the monster Park thing, and they could the Jurassic Park touch, right? And he gives his chi over to them. And they become the strongest shape. They become the triangle because he comes into the cockpit and he shares his chi with the two of them, and they achieve their heroic form. They become, their ascended form of the chrysalis, and they're like, oh, let's go fight the Hunduns. And they've got a bow and they manage to fly and they, kill all these Hunduns with like one strike, and everyone's just like, okay, sure.
And this is where I was just like, even though I don't trust him, I want this polycule to work.
Yes!
Because this is great. This is wonderful. This is what I wanted from this Fatal Kiss, right?
Yes.
You want...
Right.
Yeah. You want that perfect, like, triangular relationship. And this is where we're getting it. We didn't even get it in that book. We had to wait like 3 other books to get this.
And oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good.
And it's beautiful. But I still don't trust him. I still don't.
They're all kind of a little unhinged in their own ways, and I love that for them. But we end this part with the end of the battle, right? And they're about to come out of the cockpit. And all of a sudden, Zeishan just goes unconscious. She's just like, oh, it's cold and I would like to sleep. Being that she got shot in the back. And that's how we end this part. This chapter ends with just her fading to black, essentially. She can barely hear her name being shouted through all of her, like, watery, fadey, I'm dying kind of feelings.
I have to bring this up because that's kind of where the shadiness also comes in, because when Yiza is brought into the cockpit, he's just like, hey, I'm going to help heal Zeishan while you guys pilot this, right? While you guys are in the spirit realm, I'll do whatever I can to help her. And then she goes unconscious, like she's about to die. Do I think he's going to actually kill her? No, but I don't trust him again.
I mean, that's also like it could have just been like a blood loss thing. It could have just been like, there's only so much that a college kid can do at this point, because he doesn't know how to do, emergency first aid on the battlefield. But, and she needs like a hospital or something at this point to get the bullet out of her back. But this entire part is, I think, a masterclass in pacing. Because we get so much in 18 chapters. This part is 18 chapters. Technically, we only read 17 because we read chapter 10 as the last episode, right? Or this entire portion is thick. I think it's the biggest part of the 3 that we have, right? And we get from, her getting thrown in jail to her becoming this balanced match, right? And we see this character journey, not only of Zeishan and her sort of coming around and creating, her plans to basically overthrow the government and kill everybody, because that's, we stand an unhinged queen. But also like her relationships. We see her relationships with Leigh Shimin, we see with Yiji, we see her relationships with other people, other women, other people who are also in her position, and how that affects her, and how, she is realizing how little she knows about like the intricacies of these relationships and how these people have survived for so long, because she's still a fresh face. She's still, this is only her second fight, or her third fight rather, at the end of this part, right? She actively admits, okay, I'm the less experienced person here. I should let him be in charge. I should let him control the bird. I'll take a back seat. And like she gets this moment where she is learning to play nice with others, and also kind of coming to terms with her own feelings, because she also kind of realizes, like she tells Shimin, like, you drive me nuts. I hate you, but I hate you a little less every day.
And then at the end, she goes from, I don't hate you. You just confuse me.
You just confuse me. Yeah. They're like, we see so much of the other characters and how they influence the storyline through Zeishan's point of view. And I think that is something that is so incredibly hard to do in first person. Because this entire book is in first person and we don't get to be in anyone else's heads, but we get to see so many of their thoughts, their feelings, their reactions, like in such a way that it feels like it's in a third person omniscient almost point of view, right? These chapters sort of have that just one more chapter feeling, right? So this is something that I really loved about it. This book broke my... Like, I was in burnout for years and I didn't read anything for like 2 or 3 years after I finished grad school because it burned me out on reading. I could not touch a book. And this was the first thing that I read after that reading slump, and it brought me back. And I was like, oh, I enjoy reading again. And each chapter is like, oh, you just want to get to the next one. Like, there's just enough punch at the end of each chapter that you're like, I gotta keep going. I got to part 3 divider page when this morning when I was finishing the chapters, and I'm like, oh no, I have to wait a few more hours to read. Because it just keeps you turning it. And like, it doesn't have the same problem that Rebel Witch did with short chapters, because the chapter lengths alternate. There are a few short chapters where they're like 2 or 3 pages long, but also a lot of the chapters are longer. You have that sort of alternating length that keeps you interested because you're getting a lot of stuff, a lot of information, and then you get like a short chapter, like a reprieve with another punch, but it's a lot less weighed down with all of the plot information, right? So I want to hear your predictions for the next part, for part 3.
Okay, I don't know exactly what I'm feeling, but I do want to say that the concubine in the first pilot that we see,
the White Tiger pilot, the man, you're a man killing whore pilot, or
no?
Okay,
the one that she kills.
Oh, okay.
Like the first Wang, I can't say it.
Yang Guang?
Wang Gong. Wang Gong. I don't know. I have no idea. So my prediction is we're going to find out who was the concubine in Wang Gong's yin seat, right? Mm-hmm. And I believe it's either going to be between Zetian's sister or Leigh Shimin's love. It's not Wendy, but
it looks like Wendy. I think it's Wenda. But
Wenda.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure she was confirmed dead, because we do get like the name drop. We get some more information, and I'm pretty sure she was killed or tributed. I don't remember.
And even Leigh Shimin says she volunteered herself to be a concubine pilot, and he didn't want her to be. Now, I think it's between those two. I think we're going to find out. And I think Zetian, at least by the end of the third part, and Zetian's going to go stark raving mad. Or Leigh Shimin is going to go stark raving
as
mad.
If they already
Either
aren't. I think it was also... I think it was confirmed that it was Zeishan's sister in the prologue, right? Because that's the Gyeon pilot we're talking about, is from the prologue, the one who dies on page, right? And kickstarts it. I'm pretty sure it was her sister.
I don't think we've got a confirmation.
Didn't get a confirmation. Yeah, I mean, then I agree with the idea that it's her sister, because I feel like that is the kickstart for her joining and her killing him, right?
Right, and I do believe that, but I want to find out whether or not Leigh Shimin's, I want to say girlfriend or girl that he really cared about, the one that he murdered his family over. I want to know that's her. She volunteered.
I forgot.
Yeah, and I want to know if he killed her, like she volunteered and became his co-pilot, and that's why he's drinking so much, or she was with another pilot.
Did they say her name in his backstory?
I thought so.
Because if Wenda is the girl from his backstory, I don't know if they ever said, because I think he just referred to her as the girl. Hang on, where is that chapter? Oh, no, hang on. It's at the bottom of the page. What about the girl, I say, my lips and tongue numb as frost? What happened to her after? Oh, heard her family drowned her for being dishonored. So she died. She did not enlist. She was killed by her family. Supposedly. That's what he heard. But
right.
So she can't be
no body, no death.
That's true. That is true. We have learned that. But I believe this is okay. So I think this is where I'm starting to kind of remember some of the things that happened. I just remember these next two parts also being doozies, just not the intense ride that part 2 was. We kind of get through some of the we've gotten through the setup, and now we are really getting really deep into it. Yeah.
And I think we're going to get a little bit more background on the pilot that Leigh Min had before. Mm-hmm. The one whose feminine stuff was in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to get into that. I think we're going to find out, like, fully about Zeshian's sister. Maybe a little bit more about her. And I think Yeezy, you got me saying Yeezy. Yiza. I think we're going to find out whether Yiza is not to be trusted or not.
I will say there's going to be quite a bit of triangle going on. We're going to get to see a lot of that strongest shape going on. I'm very excited.
Give me what Fatal Kiss did not.
I'm still so upset. Could have been so good. Anyway, I think this has been part 2 of Iron Widow.
Sorry for all the mispronunciations.
We're trying. We're doing our best.
That's a wrap on this episode of Booked All Night. We'd love for you to be a part of the conversation, so don't forget to rate the show, drop a comment, and share your thoughts in the episode poll. And remember, subscribing means you'll never miss an episode or interview as we launch into more amazing stories together. Booked All Night is produced by Rob Cook and his cats. So when you share your favorite episode, be sure to tag us at Booked All Night Pod on Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, and say hi to our guy in the sound booth. For more information, like reading schedules and dates on our upcoming interviews, check out the link in the show notes. That's link.bio/bookedallnight. lnk.bio/bookedallnight for those of you who don't check the show notes. Until next time, my little Libernauts, this is Jessica Mary, Kay Leigh, Magdalyn Ann, and producer Rob signing off and reminding you to stay booked all night.